Hello, my name is Mike Siegel. I'm the Executive Director of PeDRA, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar on the PeDRA Research Toolkit. Now, most of you listening to this webinar or viewing it on your computer probably know that PeDRA is a vibrant and growing community of clinician scientists and other stakeholders in the field of pediatric dermatology. You might also know that we, as of January 27th, 2020, as I record this webinar, have exactly 300 members within our research network. We offer 6 different funding mechanisms to support research projects and investigators. We have a growing list of educational programs. We host an annual conference going into its 8th year, and many other things. Despite knowing all that, you might still have questions about how to get plugged into some of the resources that PeDRA has invested so heavily in to support you in the conduct of research projects. And to help answer that question, in 2019, we put together a document called the PeDRA Research Toolkit. The toolkit is about 10 pages long and available on the PeDRA website on the Resources for Researchers webpage, which if you're viewing this webinar on your computer, you can see presented to you now. And the idea for the toolkit is to give you an idea of the different ways that PeDRA is here as an organization to help make your life easier in the conduct of research, to help hopefully save you time, to hopefully help improve the quality of your research, and to hopefully allow you to focus more of your attention on other demands. So your clinic load, classes you're teaching, different things you're doing, spending your research time as efficiently and effectively as you possibly can on high-level questions, on data interpretation, on presentation, on assembling publications, things like that. And we hope taking other components that go along with conducting research, whether it be correspondence, administrative tasks, paperwork, background homework, timeline tracking, things like that, taking those off your plate to the greatest extent possible. So again, you can focus on the things that matter. And again, acknowledging that your time is valuable, we hope that by presenting the webinar, today's webinar on the toolkit, we'll give you an opportunity, if you haven't had a chance to look at the document, to listen to this or watch it on your own time in a piecemeal fashion if need be, just to get an idea of what's out there, and then after the webinar to be able to go and reach out to us or take another look at it or give us a call, send us an email to take advantage of the different resources that you think will be meaningful for you. So with that, I'm going to launch ahead and start walking through the different components of the research toolkit. I'm not going to touch on every single detail that you'd find if you read the toolkit. Again, just give you an overview so you can take the information and hopefully use it to your benefit after going through the webinar. So the way the toolkit is broken up, it's broken up into 10 different stages of a research study. Those stages being turning an idea into a study, getting it off the ground, building a team to execute a study, putting in place a study design and timeline, getting funding for a study, getting regulatory approval for a study, gathering data, communication and dissemination, data analysis, publication, and then transitioning from one study to the next, whether that be a direct continuation of the study you're completing based upon observations, conclusions, acquired skills, whatever the case may be, or going back to the drawing board and starting fresh for the next great research study that you want to work on. So with that, I'm going to step through each of these different 10 stages, give you an overview of what you'll find in the toolkit, leave off on the final slide with some information on where you can go downstream to connect with the resources that I talk about, and then hopefully we'll connect with many of you after the webinar, whenever you might happen to listen to this, to provide some of the resources that we discussed today. So when it comes time to turn an idea that you have, or an observation that you have in clinic, or some cool conversation that you have into an actual research study, what is it that PeDRA can do? And the 2 biggest things that I think PeDRA can do and what's laid out in the toolkit are really when it comes to the background homework associated with turning an idea into a study. So what other research has been done related to the idea that you might have, what literature exists in the field, what other investigators might be poking around in a space similar to what it is you're thinking about doing, who might be a relevant person to talk to. We can help pull that information together. And while the assembly of that information might take many hours, if you don't have those hours to spend, please give us a call, send us an email, say, hey, I need help bringing this information together, and we can run with it from there and hopefully make a meaningful impact in that workload and give you something to work with to help you then take steps from there to turn an idea or an observation into a study. Beyond that, very significantly, something that PeDRA can do is we can connect you with multiple communities of individuals who can help inform your study idea, help talk about your study idea, help ask questions about your study idea, help refine your study idea, so that when it gets off the ground, it's heading in the right possible direction. You can have the most confidence that it will succeed. And talking about these groups of people, the groups I'm referring to are other PeDRA members, whether they be trainees or key opinion leaders in the field. We can connect you with industry partners through PeDRA's large and growing network of industry partners who it works with, through patient advocacy organizations, families, patients, people who come to our conference and work with us in an ongoing way. We can help connect you with all those people, as well as others at your institution, whether they be statisticians or potential collaborators in other departments. We can help make those connections as well. So we can help with some of the background work and then help with the network of individuals that might help shape your idea to put it in the right direction to become a successful study. Those are just some of the ways that PeDRA can help you as you turn a study idea into an actual study. From there, when it comes time to build a team, talked about this a little bit already, PeDRA's already, if you're following the toolkit, helped you get plugged into the network of people who we think can help be part of a study team to make it successful. But something that we can importantly do if you come to us when it's time to build a team is help you think through in a strategic way, what kind of team do you need? How big does the team need to be? What kind of expertise do you need? Do you need people who can just recruit patients and build your data set? Do you need people who can weigh in with different perspectives? Do you need people with survey expertise or some different type of skill? We are happy to help work with you to determine how many people should be on your team and help build that team out. When it comes time to communicate with a team, this can be a burden on many investigators as they work with multi-site collaborators numbering sometimes in the several dozen. We can help centralize communication so that instead of constantly needing to communicate through an email thread or by phone or with investigators, coordinators, administrators, different institutional representatives, bring that correspondence to us rather than trying to email your network of 20 or 30 contacts or however many it might be. Send one email to us and we can take it from there. This is something that we pride ourselves in being able to do efficiently so that you don't have to bang your head against the wall trying to communicate with so many people. Email PeDRA and we can take it from there. Something else that PeDRA can really do well when it comes time to build a team is help you plug into pre-existing institutional agreements and relationships. So getting off the ground, building a team, establishing all the contractual arrangements that are necessary to be able to work across multiple institutions with collaborators amongst your team. In many cases, a lot of the legwork has been done, and it's a case of realizing that legwork's been done and getting plugged into it. So PeDRA maintains a database of all the different institutional arrangements, whether they be through the CTSA, through the FDP, through the UIDP, through something like IACS, different organizations that have worked hard over time to put in place pre-existing institutional agreements so that when collaborators from across those institutions want to work together, they don't have to start back at square one. They can be starting up at square three, square four, where there's contractual language in place to help collaborators across those institutions work together. And we realize that that's not something that might be clear to you in your day-to-day business as you work at your institution, but we've taken it upon ourselves to collect that information so we know if we see a team forming and it has institution X, and institution Y, and institution Z, we can see whether any of these pre-existing relationships exist and help you take advantage of those. So something else that we can do when it comes time to build a team to help that process go off efficiently so that you can save time and move on with the actual research. When it comes time to designing a study and putting a timeline in place, these are things we acknowledge don't necessarily live the lifespan of a study. A timeline might be obliterated within months as things change and things don't go necessarily how you plan. However, when you have a multiple investigator team taking place, conducting a study, it certainly helps to have a backbone of a timeline so that when changes happen, when something comes up and you might steer off course or see something different, it's important to have a basis from which to work, and that timeline can serve a very valuable function there. Also extremely valuable when it comes time to get funding, which I'll talk about on the next slide, to have an actual timeline in place for the purpose of acquiring funding and then reporting back to funders, something very important. So come to us early in the process when you start to work on study design and establishing a timeline. This is something that PeDRA staff have experience with. We can help you put in place a feasible timeline and then track that timeline as it moves along. We're also very happy to build out a Basecamp project for you. So Basecamp is available to all PeDRA members. We maintain a subscription and are able to host every PeDRA study on Basecamp. For those of you who've not used Basecamp, I would direct you to the education page of our website where we have some tutorials posted. It's a nice centralized project management cloud-based service where you can track timelines, to-dos, action items, correspondence. There's a message board, everything you'd probably consider looking for when it comes time to manage a project. All that can be found up on Basecamp, and rather than you needing to go in and create your own Basecamp project, we're very happy to do that for you. So bring us your project, bring us your idea, tell us what it is you want to do. We can put that together for you and then work with you to refine it so it looks the way you want it to look, and then help you track through it as you move through the course of a study. So that's something else that we can do as you move through your study. Getting funded. This is a big one, and I mentioned this on the previous slide. It's important to have things like a timeline in place when you pursue funding, and then as you move through a project, both from the perspective of you, your collaborators, your funders, and your institution who are all kind of looking to see how things are moving along. Very important to have realistic expectations in your funding so that funders think that what you're proposing can actually be done, of course. But when it comes time to get funded, what can PeDRA do? One thing is we can actually fund you. So PeDRA offers, at the time this is being recorded, 6 different funding opportunities, and those are available on the PeDRA website on the Grants and Awards webpage. So come to us, take a look at our funding cycle throughout the year and apply for those. We strongly encourage you to get funding through PeDRA, and the way the PeDRA grants program is designed, it's really intended to support early stage research, early to mid-career investigators, and to be very constructive in its feedback to help you get funded if you're not successful the first time. So I encourage you to get out there and apply for funding with us, and I think you'll end up going down a good trajectory if you do that. In addition, we can direct you to external funding opportunities. So on the PeDRA Resources for Researchers webpage, you'll find access to external funding opportunities through patient advocacy groups, through industry partners, through government. And beyond that, we can connect you with the actual individuals who are part of those different funding organizations. So within its network, PeDRA includes industry partners and includes patient advocacy groups. So by being a part of PeDRA, you can connect with the individuals who are actually reviewing a grant, actually designing a funding program, and can really help you move along. Finally, by being a part of PeDRA, you can strengthen an application simply by name dropping PeDRA. So I would encourage all of you who are thinking about applying to an external funding program to say, oh, I'm a PeDRA member and what I'm doing is happening within the birthmarks group. That carries water. That shows that what you're doing has the support from a large respected research network and can increase the chances of you being funded. We'd also be happy to bounce around an idea that you might have around a funding opportunity, help you refine a proposal, a letter of support, and would consider even providing a letter of support for certain funding applications as you put those in. So we encourage you to come to us not only for funding through PeDRA, but as you pursue external opportunities for funding, I encourage you to come to us as well. I think we can add a lot to strengthen applications and to help them be successful. Getting regulatory approval can be a lot of work. I think anyone who's gone through that can say that can often be the case. PeDRA is here to help with this, and this is something we've been able to help a number of investigators with in the last couple of years, which I'm happy to say. But when it comes time to understand what type of approval you might need, whether you're doing human-based or animal-based research, whether your study is interventional or observational, it's a retrospective study, it's a survey. If you don't have experience with this, we can answer many of those questions ourselves. We can certainly, if we can't answer a question about whether you need to pursue a certain type of approval for a certain type of study, we can direct you to resources where you can learn whether or not you need to. We can connect you with experts within our network who've been through similar things. We can direct you to the right resources within your institution to learn more. We're happy to help you learn, to understand what you need to do to have the right regulatory approval for your study. When it then comes time to prepare and track your approvals, we can help with that as well. And to whatever extent is allowable for your particular study, with your particular institution, we're happy to help as much as we can. So for your PeDRA study, if you need help preparing paperwork to go in with an IRB submission, you need help assembling documentation, you need help with a system within your institution, you need help connecting with your IRB at your local institution or at some central IRB office, we can do all that for you, again, to the extent that we are allowed. We are very happy to jump in and do as much as we can on that front. And then once approval has been obtained, as your study moves along, we're happy to help track with that. So this is something we could build into a Basecamp project, certainly, or we can just track it outside of Basecamp if you're not using it, but let you know when maybe a deadline's coming up, maybe you have a training upon which your IRB approval is dependent. We can let you know your training needs to be renewed. We can let you know that your IRB needs to be renewed. We can track on all that for you to help things, again, stay on track, make sure you don't miss anything that you need as your study moves along, and let you focus on the high-level research that you really want to be doing. Gathering data. Now, there's a few different things that PeDRA can do when it comes time to gather data. One, we can certainly provide administrative support, some of the things I've touched on already, make sure you have the right contractual arrangements in place to collect data across multiple institutions. We can connect you with resources at your institution early on to make sure that you're collecting data in the best possible way, you're storing data in a safe way, in the best possible way. Things many investigators are probably well aware of. We are here to help with that. If it's something you're not sure of, or if you need help setting up those sorts of processes, we're very happy to help with that. We're also here to help you gather data, particularly when it comes to data that would come from multiple sites within the PeDRA network. So if you want help getting referrals to a study, we can send emails to our entire network that help people know that there's an opportunity for them to refer patients to your particular study. We can include survey links in our emails. We can post things to our website. We can post things to social media. We have a process in place, and this is available through the PeDRA research study and survey form, which you would find on the resources for researchers page as well. You can apply to have a survey shared through the SPD and PeDRA membership so the data can come in from that group of people to help your studies move forward. We can also help with the design and the refinement of your actual data collection instruments. If you need another set of eyes to test a survey or to test a data platform or something you're using, come to us. We're very happy to help. We can take a look at that critically. We can look at it on a high level. Is this the right sort of design for a data collection tool? Are there typos throughout it? Whatever the case may be, we're very happy to help with that. To, again, take some of the burden off of you, help your research succeed in a high quality way, and help you gather the best possible data. So when it comes to ongoing communication and dissemination, this is one of PeDRA's great strengths through its network of 300 members and then additional stakeholders who work with PeDRA on a regular basis. We provide very robust platforms for both digital and in-person communication. So we have email lists, we have a website, we maintain email lists of our working groups and full PeDRA membership. So if you would like to correspond by email with anybody within a work group, anybody within PeDRA, we're able to shepherd that correspondence along. We are also able, through our network of patient advocacy groups and industry partners and others who keep an eye on PeDRA, we're able to communicate more broadly. So if you're interested in sharing news, make sure that gets up on the PeDRA website, make sure that gets up on PeDRA social media channels, and do that by sharing it with us so we know that it can be shared. As many people listening to this probably know, we've built out project web pages for every single PeDRA study. And by sharing updates on those web pages, the news, the updates, the progress of your study are getting out to a broad audience. The outcomes for that will be, over time, shared through our monthly e-newsletter, which goes out to PeDRA membership, through social media, and through other channels as well. Another great way to share information through PeDRA is through our in-person events, so both the PeDRA annual conference and then other conferences such as the SID meeting, the AED meeting, and meetings of patient advocacy groups who we're partners with, as well as the SPD annual meeting. All opportunities for you to share information where PeDRA studies will have an opportunity to be shared with a broader audience through these types of venues. Data analysis. So certainly a thought needs to be given to how data will be analyzed when the data gathering process begins. When it comes time to analyze data, PeDRA's priority is to connect you with expert resources at your host institution. So most academic centers, teaching hospitals, other places have expert biostatistical cores. And we are here to help connect you with those. We maintain a database of all the content information for all the biostats hubs at all the institutions who are part of our network. And through our study support grant program, which is something else you'll find on both the resources for researchers page of the PeDRA website and the grants and awards page of the PeDRA website, we will provide funding on a non-competitive basis for you to pay for biostatistical support for your study. So it comes time to do biostats, to analyze the data you got. You can pay the expert resource at your institution with a grant from PeDRA with a very straightforward application process, which is really intended to support all PeDRA studies that reach a stage where they need funding for stats, to make sure that doesn't become a bottleneck that prevents them from moving forward, going to publication, and then going beyond. So please take a look at our study support grant opportunity and connect with us to get connected with the resources at your institution who can perform the stats for you. And if you're not interested in working with the resources at your institution, or you don't have those resources at your institution, we can connect you with other resources. We have individuals through our network who report having expertise in biostats. Perhaps that's somebody, when we go back to the building a team stage of the project, we can say, oh, you don't have that resource at your institution. However, through the PeDRA network, we know that this person over here is interested in the same thing as you, and they have expertise in stats. Having them as a part of your team from early on can really help your study succeed and will not encounter a bottleneck, hopefully, when it reaches this stage down the road. So working with us at every step of the process can very much help with something like doing strong data analysis for your study. And publication. This is a big one when it comes time to publish. And just since I joined PeDRA about 2 years ago, I've seen many studies that get to a point where they're ready to publish, but it's tough to find a person to write the paper. The paper is being written by a student who left, or coordinating the effort of 12 different authors across 12 different institutions can really become a challenge. And PeDRA can support this process very strongly. We are here to serve as a centralized hub for your publication efforts. So when it comes time to get your paper out the door, please come to us. We can help you communicate with all the different authors you're working with. We can help you pull in all the edits and collate the edits to the multiple authors and put them together in a nice package for you so it's easier for you to track. We can pull in all the conflicts, we can pull in the signature pages, everything that you need to package up a submission in a very efficient way so that you don't get held up waiting weeks and months just trying to go through the iterative process of preparing a publication to get it out the door and before the eyes of the public. In addition, PeDRA staff are here to provide review of your manuscripts to the extent that you're comfortable. We can provide high-level critical review of your papers, see if what you're writing is on point with the audience that you're submitting to, see whether the language makes sense, see if you're just give it a basic kind of copy edit review of your paper. We're very happy to provide that, and I've been happy to have done that for a number of investigators already, and would love to do it for more. So I encourage you when it comes time to publish, let us help you make that as efficient as possible so that you can wrap up your projects once they're done, get them out the door, and move on to the next. Now, when it comes time to move on to the next study, we really see the process of research as a continuous process where you are working on one project and undoubtedly thinking about the next. And our hope is that by working with PeDRA, that the transition from one project to the next can be very seamless. You can be building on skills acquired during one study to move on to the next. You can be building on ideas that you had during one study and moving to the next, or you can be kind of aware of the next study idea, which might be off to the side and not a part of what you're working on to begin with, and then ready to jump on that when it comes time and you finish one study. You have more bandwidth to do more. So one of the great venues to help your next study get off the ground is certainly the PeDRA annual conference. An annual conference is a great venue for many of the different things that we talk about in the research toolkit, but by coming to the annual conference every year, you'll have that ongoing communication with the other PeDRA members who are there with you, within working groups, within the broader PeDRA membership, to discuss new ideas, to discuss findings, and to constantly be working on what is the next thing that we should be working on. So keeping the conversation going in that way will keep both ideas live and vibrant and moving, and keep you in contact with collaborators, people who, whether you're working with them on a study or you're just bouncing ideas off them, they will be there with you through PeDRA to help one idea transition into the next. And these individuals, like getting back to what I talked about earlier, might not be other academic scientists. They might be patients, they might be family members, they might be advocates, they might be industry partners. PeDRA brings all those people together so that your ideas are constantly growing, constantly evolving. You're constantly thinking about them and talking about them, and everything moves forward in a continuous way. And PeDRA is really committed to facilitating that. And then once the study does get going, you can kind of go back to number one in the research toolkit. You have an idea, you transition from one to the next, and then we hope the toolkit can then shepherd along the next project through the first 9 stages so that one is just as successful as the one that you just completed. So with that, I'd wrap up the webinar. I'd like to say thank you for listening or watching. I know this was kind of a rough overview of a lot of information, but just to give you an idea of what we have to offer through PeDRA in terms of the support of your research studies. And this is just one thing that we do, but it's a huge thing that we do. Just knowing that you have so much going on and you're so committed to research, but don't necessarily have the time or resources to get it done. We're trying to plug all those gaps. And the toolkit is here to describe, for now anyway, and this is going to evolve and grow over time, the different ways that we are providing that support. So when Catherine Davenport, whose email is at the top of the screen right now, or the bottom of the screen, excuse me, when she reaches out to you, please get back to her, correspond with me, let us know what's happening. We're here to help you, and we're very eager to help. And overall, we're trying to save you time and improve quality so that you can be successful. So with that, certainly stay in touch with Catherine and myself. Visit us online if you haven't already, PeDRAresearch.org. That's probably how you found this webinar, so you probably are very well aware of that. And make sure your PeDRA membership is up to date. You can keep it up to date on an annual basis through the PeDRA website. I encourage you to treat the PeDRA website as a nice hub for information. we're keeping that up to date on a very active basis, providing new resources for education, to support research, funding opportunities, both internal and external, news updates, connections to outside organizations. And we're always looking to provide more. So please visit the website on a regular basis. Please use the toolkit, which again, you can find via the website. And we really wish you the best with all your research. And thank you again for your attention.